I know. There'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. But you will last through the judgment. Yeah, I don't know. What's up? This too shall pass. God's ways are not our ways. He can see all things, including the majesty of the Green Bay Packers. There you go. Yeah. Okay, I probably should teach something. Thank you guys for being here today. You all are stuck with me. It'll be fun. I don't know. Cool. All right. Well, this will be fun too. All righty. Very good. Let's begin with a quick word of prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. You bring amazing things out of the most difficult of circumstances. Grief to joy, illness to health, death to life. Abide with us as we explore the book of John, specifically the story of Lazarus. May it be encouraging, edifying, and point us toward you and your unfailing love. In your holy name we pray. Amen. Very good. So if you couldn't tell from the prayer, there you go. We are in the Gospel of John, continuing on with our study, which is the raising of Lazarus today. 2 weeks ago, you did the overview, correct? If you remember, if you were here for that, you could see that the Gospel of John is kind of grouped into two big categories. I'm oversimplifying things, but I'm doing it short and pithy to make it so it's memorable. The first half is everything that leads up to the events around Holy Week. And then John, more than any other gospel, he spends a lot of time during the events of Holy Week. The raising of Lazarus, it sort of serves as a hinge between these two. And a lot of the themes that are present in the former part of the book are present in Lazarus, and they point to where everything is going in the gospel. Also, another thing is John, he is a really dynamic storyteller. Might not seem like it in our day and age, but yeah. And whenever we tell a story, we like to think linearly, like things are happening, progression happening, different things, different events, different things like that. John, he's much more like, here's an idea. And we're going to circle back to the idea, and then circle back, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. This is like the last big layered story before the events of Holy Week. Big running themes are death to life. What does it mean to truly believe that Jesus is Lord? Those are all huge fundamental questions that are explored as a part of this reading. But yeah. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. That's my introduction for you guys. But one thing to keep in mind from context, I heard that there was some questions about what signs are in the Gospel of John. Were people here last week for when Pastor Tiemann talked about signs a little bit? Yeah? No? Maybe? Something like that? Maybe ring a bell. That's okay. Anyway, but if you look in your notes, there are typically said to be 7 signs in the Gospel of John. But now, a sign, road signs. Road signs always point to something else, like they point direction. They point to something. I'm going to say that a sign is different than a miracle. There's more miracles in the Gospel of John. I mean, we can think of the catch of fish at the end of the Gospel. That's another miracle as well. And, well, of course, what are all these signs pointing to? They're pointing to the death and the resurrection of Jesus. But in different ways you can categorize these signs as well. You have ones where Jesus shows power over creation. Those would be the ones in blue. You have water turned to wine, the feeding of 5,000, walking on water, and the catch of fish. You have healing miracles as well. You have this official son at Capernaum, the sick man at the pool of Bethesda, and the man born blind. And then you have him showing mastery over death itself, death to life, the raising of Lazarus, and, of course, the death and resurrection of Jesus. We heard about, for those of you that were at church earlier this morning, one of the readings was the raising of the widow at Nain's son. That story, it's a standalone in Luke's gospel. This is a standalone in John's gospel. This is John's way of saying, he is Lord over death itself. Most powerful thing, the greatest struggle that we all have to endure. What's the 2 certainties in life? That's right. And the Green Bay Packers winning. No. But no, yeah. And, Jesus right here, he doesn't have so much to say in taxes in this book. Maybe a little bit. Never mind. But that's a different book. That's Matthew. I'm going to get off track. That's going to be fun. I don't know. But anyway, this is really the key story that points to the resurrection and shows that Jesus is, the resurrection and the life. Not even death can hold him back. But we have a lot of verses to go through today. Don came to me and said, hey, Pastor, do you want to teach on the raising of Lazarus? I'm like, that's 54 verses, Don. And he said, well, you're going to go through all of them? I'm like, why not? So we're going to go through a lot of verses today. So a lot of different Bible chunks. We might not get through all of them. I'll jump around if I'm seeing that we have to be sensitive with time. I have different questions to weave through it, different things from the text that I aim to pull out. But yeah, if you have different thoughts, different matters that the text brings out, please feel free to bring them up. Love to encourage conversation. Any questions about kind of the context, where we're headed, where we're going? Not yet? Well said. Cool. All righty. We have someone who's willing to read verses 1 through 5 of the raising of Lazarus, of John chapter 11. Thank you.
Lazarus was sick. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. This Mary, whose brother Lazarus now lay sick, was the same one who poured perfume on the Lord and wiped his feet with her hair. So the sisters sent word to Jesus, Lord, the one you love is sick. When he heard this, Jesus said, this sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory, so that God's Son may be glorified through it. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus.
Very good. So, who is Lazarus? I mean, we don't know much about this guy. There's another parable called the rich man and Lazarus. Those could be the same people. We're not sure. But it's another name that is in the Gospels that has this same name. It might be the same person. We aren't sure. Anyway, Lazarus. What does the name mean? Believe it or not, it is the Greek form of a Hebrew word called Eliezer. Lazarus, Eleazar, I don't know. But it basically means the Lord is my help. God is my help. He, helps me. It's just a fun little structure where it's the entire story is about how God is helping this man. Bethany. You guys know where Bethany is? Any other Bible stories you know of that were in Bethany? Going once? Going twice? There you go.
Are there two Bethanies? So I get them confused.
There are, yeah. So there's one that's across the Jordan. I can't think of a specific story that occurs there. But Bethany, it was really close to where Jerusalem was. I had a black marker, and then I lost it. There you are. Thank you. So you have the ancient Middle East, Near East, around the time of Jesus. You had Galilee up here. This is where Jesus grew up. This would be where Nazareth is. This is where all the miracles, a lot of them took place. It was around the Sea of Galilee. This would be, the miraculous catch of fish happened there. Different things of that nature. A lot of different miracles happened around the Sea of Galilee. He was up in the fishing town boondocks. Samaria was in the middle. Ever heard the story of the Good Samaritan? Anyone? Good? Absolutely. Samaritans were known as not quite good enough people, ancestral rivals of the nation to the south, which was the Jewish nation, Judea. Judea had the town of Jerusalem. Everybody heard of Jerusalem? I hope so. There you go. Cool. Jerusalem. This would be the holy city. This is where all the big stuff in the Bible tended to happen. Bethany is about 2 miles away from Jerusalem. Now, there's another Bethany that's on this side of the Jordan River. Jordan River's right here. Normally, I would draw it in blue because it's water, but I didn't think that through, so sorry, guys. But this is the Jordan River right here. But Bethany is really close to Jerusalem. This is toward the end of Jesus' ministry. He was having a lot of conflict with the religious rulers. Might it be a problem for him then to go from where he was, which was not in Judea, to into Judea? I would say yes. By going into Judea, by going to Bethany, it would be, continuing to advance the different parts of the story that ultimately led to his death. By being close to these people, by trying to do miracles so close to where the religious rulers were in Jerusalem. It's almost like there's an exchange that happens. Lazarus is raised from the dead, but Jesus is condemned to death. We'll see that in this text as we push forward. Any other questions about where Bethany is? Another key story that happens there is that Mary, this is the same Mary who bought a very expensive jar of oil, and she anointed Jesus for his burial. This was about 10 days before he died. Now, I don't do all the oils, essential oils, or anything like that. Maybe some of you do. Good for you. I don't know. But this oil, it was supposed to be very expensive, very pungent in its smell. You would anoint people for burial with this. It was said to be one of the few things of joy that Jesus had during his passion. Like, this oil would be lasting for a very, very long time. So you have this powerful perfume as Jesus is going through all of his passion, but he can still smell that oil that the woman rubbed on his feet. It's a beautiful little picture. Anyway. All right, so that's Bethany right here. And then, well, I'm bleeding into the next bit. Mary and her sister Martha. How many of you guys have heard of these names before? Yeah. Can anyone think of another story of Mary and Martha? No? Yeah.
When the one was preparing and the
Yes.
other was listening and
Yeah.
or fighting with each other.
Yes. To be a hostess or to not be a hostess? That is the question. Yeah. But no, Martha was busy with being hospitable. She was big on hospitality. She wanted to make sure everyone had snacks. I don't know. But credit to her. That being said, Mary was the one who saw what was most important. She saw that the Son of God had come over the roof where she was staying, and she wanted to hang on to every single one of his words. And we should be doing the same. Not saying the hospitality is a bad thing, but don't let it get in the way of the most important thing. Does that make sense? Cool. All right. Let's keep her moving. This Mary, I already talked about this. We don't have to talk about it. But anyway, this Mary whose brother Lazarus now lay sick was the same one who poured perfume on the Lord and wiped his feet with her hair. This happens later in the narrative. This hasn't happened yet. It's almost like this story is a reaction to the raising of Lazarus itself. All right. Here's something that's interesting. Lazarus is sick. So Mary and Martha, they have this buddy named Jesus who's proven to be a miracle worker. You saw the other signs. He's known for healing the sick. Take a look at this request. What natural thing from this request is missing?
Name of the person?
The name of the person? The one you love is sick. That's good. What? Healing him. Yeah. It's like they don't ask him to heal him, which is interesting. I don't know. It could be, it's assumed. That's a pretty logical thing. Paper was also very expensive in that day. You couldn't write much on paper because it wasn't that common. Hard to know. But the request isn't there to even come and be there. The request isn't there to come and heal him. Maybe it's assumed. Maybe it's all of that. But yeah. That being said, with all of this, with this sickness, it's like the sickness will end in God's glory. Anybody ever heard the word glory before? A little bit? No? Who can give me a definition for glory? It's a churchy word. We tend to use churchy words. I know I do too. We use churchy words and we might not entirely understand what we mean by them. Anybody ever thought about glory before?
Majestic.
Yeah.
It's hard to put it.
Yeah, no, you're good.
It's hard to give synonyms.
Yeah.
But impressive, majestic.
Those are good words. Anybody else?
Exaltation?
Yeah. Exaltation. That's a good one. I heard murmurings over here. Awesome. God's awesome. Absolutely. Yeah. Anything else? Those are all great definitions. Let me give you an image to help us out. How many of you guys have dimmers on your light switches at home? Anyone? So I thought it was the coolest thing ever when my parents built a new addition to the house I was growing up, and they installed light dimmers onto all the different light switches in the common areas of the house. So I would just play with the slider and drive my parents crazy sometimes. But anyway, I want us to think of glory like a dimmer switch slowly being turned on. Because glory, it's like presence, it's light. The more that glory is present, the more you see the world not only as it is, but also as it's meant to be. You see things differently in the darkness compared to the light. The glory of God, it shows us the light. It shows us what his nature really is. So this is being done for God's glory. The story is being done because it's showing, first the people that would believe in him, and then by extension us, by being able to read this story, that God has power over death itself. It's a profound thing. Any questions on that before I keep going? Cool. Excellent. All right, Jesus receives news and reacts. Do I have someone who's willing to read verses 6 through 8?
So when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was 2 more days. And then he said to his disciples, "Let us go back to Judea." "But Rabbi," they said, "a short while ago the Jews there tried to stone you, and yet you are going back."
Yeah, the plot thickens. Why do you think Jesus didn't go right away?
To let Lazarus die.
Let Lazarus die? Could be. That is a fair theory.
I mean, it sets up the whole
Yeah?
story, right?
Yeah?
I mean, if he goes there and if he's, sick, he's got a cold,
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense, right?
There's that. Yeah. I heard talking
It's a
over.
short distance away though, so it's like, all right, he could have been here if he was coming 2 days, he might not be coming.
Yeah.
Like,
Could be that. You also, Jesus, before he's there, he's in this hill country called Ephraim. I think that's where it is. I could be conflating these. I think he's there. He might be there at the end of the story, but I know he's on the other side of the Jordan before this story happens. But that being said, he is a ways away. You're traveling by foot too. This is also a mountainous area. This road right here from Jerusalem to Jericho, it is famously very treacherous, very difficult as well for people to cross, to travel. All of it, bandits were common, and it's hilly. It's ridiculous. It's mountainous. I don't know, but yeah. What's up? Uphill both ways. Yeah, that's it. And no donkey to ride. I don't know. Anyway, but that comes later. That's like the end of the ride. But anyway. But no, absolutely. He could have made it. I'll own that would have been a difficult journey, but he could have made it. Yeah. Why did he wait 2 more days? That is a very fair theory, Tim, that it's like he waited for Lazarus to die. When he arrives, and when we explore our text a little bit further, it said he'd been dead for 4 days. So during this time, I'm betting that he was already dead. Another theory that I have for this, I think Jesus was honestly experiencing some angst that once he goes there, it's time for him to die. He needed some time to pray, some time to think, some time to be time to get affairs in order. That, I think, is a decent theory. This isn't my idea. This is commentaries I read by people much smarter than myself. But yeah, that is a very fair theory, and I don't want to discredit that one, but this is another take as well. Because in the story right before this one takes place, what's he talking about? He was about to be stoned because of what he was saying. This was in the temple courts in Jerusalem. John 10, verses 30 through 31, Jesus said, I and the Father are one. That's a typo. I don't know who put these slides together, but he put in typos. I don't know. Anyway, Jesus said, I and the Father are one. Then the Jews picked up stones again to stone him. So, you have Jesus pretty much on the run, running away from the religious authorities. His friend gets sick 2 miles away, and they send letters like, hey, your friend's sick. He's dealing with the honest of man, if I go there, this road begins. Yeah, I don't know. I would agree, though, he waits for him to die, and let's let the text that was before this have its point. This was done so that God's glory may be revealed. That is a very fair thing. I'd also add, he's seeing what the end of the road is beginning to look like. All of that's kind of in play with these parts of the text. Does that make sense? Cool. All right, let's keep her on moving. Any other questions on these verses before I keep going? Going once, going twice? Sold. Who's up for a big block of text? Please.
Jesus answered, Are there not 12 hours of daylight? Anyone who walks in the daytime will not stumble, for they see by this world's light. It is when a person walks at night that they stumble, for they have no light. And he said, after he said this, he went on to tell them, Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I am going there to wake him up. His disciples replied, Lord, if he sleeps, he will get better. Jesus had been speaking of his death, but his disciples thought he meant natural sleep. So then he told them plainly, Lazarus is dead, and for your sake I am glad I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him. Then Thomas said to the rest of the disciples, Let us also go, that we may die with him.
I love Thomas. Yeah, he gets a bad rap at the end, but it was like, yeah, guys, let's get after it. Let's go die with him. Anyway, but yeah, great courage, I'll say. Anyway, what on earth does this verse mean?
Verse 8.
Sure, I can go back. So, but Rabbi, they said a short while ago, the Jews there tried to stone you, and yet you are going back. Then Jesus says this. You ever have those moments when you're in school where the teacher goes on a ridiculous tangent and you're like, how on earth is this connected? That's how I felt when I read this verse for the first time. I don't know.
It's half a day.
Half a day?
You got 50-50, you got two choices.
Yeah.
You either pick the good one and you won't stumble, or you don't,
Yeah?
and you will fall.
You will fall. Yeah. Darkness and light. Let's go back to that image again. Do you guys remember the verse Jesus said, I am the light of the world? Yeah. I think with these verses, he's telling them, we're about to go. I'm about to be crucified. Everything that you know is going to change entirely. Anyone who walks in the daytime, think like presence of God, presence of Jesus. Anybody who walks while I'm here will not stumble. But guess what, guys? It's stumbling time. It's about ready for that to come. I'm going to be not with you guys, at least in the same way anymore. When a person walks at night, that they stumble, for they have no light. Basically, darkness is coming. He's talking about his passion, and that is on the way. I didn't get that at first. I had to dig, once again, through commentaries of people much smarter than myself. But, yeah, I think that's a healthy way of thinking about what these verses are trying to say. Any other theories on the text?
I can't imagine being a disciple and just like all the things that Jesus says that are encrypted.
Yeah.
You're like, what is going on?
No kidding. And also put into context, like, these guys were trying to stone him. They are running for their lives in the hill country. And Jesus is like, we're going to go back now. And they're like, dude, are you crazy? Like, come on. Like, it's, yeah. And he says this. Like, what's he talking about here? Like, man.
We're not gonna hide from them.
Yeah. We're going to go. It's going to get ugly. But here we are. So, yeah.
Or sin is sinless.
Say again?
Sin or sinless.
Sin
In
or
other
sin-
words, in the daylight, I can see the sins that are there in mankind and what I'm doing. In the darkness, I don't see that, so the sins could.
That's good. No, that's really good. Because, like, when you see the light, when you're by Christ,
Right,
you see perfection manifested.
right.
And, well, you see in the light of perfection your own insignificance. Oh, no, that's pretty good. That's really good. And then, well, if they're living in darkness, you got to stay by the light. Yeah, keep going.
And then just to piggyback on that, I'd say like there's the ultimate establishment of trust
Yeah.
that he's trying to take out of that, like for them. So I don't know. When you were reading and talking, I was thinking, okay, he's really wanting them to trust him.
Yeah. Trust that he will be able to handle anything that comes their way. Yeah. So I'm going to keep going because we're a half hour in, and I still haven't got through all the verses yet. Wish us luck. This is going on. If we don't get through it all, I care more that we spend time with what's in front of us. But if we don't get to it all, that's okay too. But yes, once again, are not 12 hours in daylight. Anyone who walks in the daytime, walks in my presence, will not stumble, for they see by this world's light. And then yada, yada, yada. You're going to stumble. Passion's coming. There you go. But falling asleep is Jesus. I love this verse. These verses, it's like, I'm going to talk in a metaphor for a moment. It's like when a preacher talks in a metaphor and like no one gets it except the preacher. But then Jesus is like, okay, guys, he's dead. You're not getting my story here. But yeah, for service level, once again, he's saying like Lazarus is asleep. What's the implication of asleep? He's going to wake him up, which is really cool. This is a pretty common Bible image, sleep metaphor elsewhere in Scripture. These are all different times where Jesus, Paul also uses this extensively. Luke, who wrote the Gospel of Acts, like this is a running thought in early Christianity. It's like death is not the end. Like there is going to be a time when we will rise again. Put another way, and this is an important takeaway point for today. Christianity is not about dying and going to the happy place. There's a longing, there's an expectation for when Christ comes again and we are all raised from the dead. It's not like just we get to go be in a spirit realm and then we're there forever. No, we believe that Jesus will come again in power and glory in Judgment Day. We will be raised from the dead. Our flesh will be raised up. Corruption will put on incorruption. It's just ridiculous to think about. But all of this being said, death is a temporary thing that we don't need to fear. And it's a really powerful thing. Any questions on these verses? I kind of flashed them at you guys and moving on. Cool. All right. And last thing on this verse, once again, I love Thomas. Thomas is the guy, this is after the resurrection. I think he's like the angsty apostle. He says like, man, we're just going to do this thing or this thing. Like, I don't know. But he's like, man, if I don't put my fingers into the nail holes in his hands and into his side, I won't believe. Then Jesus is like, bet. And then he does it. And then he shows up. So, sorry, I teach 6th graders regularly. So slang's like ridiculous. I'm sorry. Anyway, but he has this courage, this conviction to always say what's on his mind. And I think it's very admirable. So, all right, let's keep on moving. Can I have someone read verses 17 through 19? Now we have Jesus actually arriving and encountering two different people. First he encounters Martha, then he encounters Mary, and then we get to see Jesus himself.
On his arrival, Jesus found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Now Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them in the loss of their brother.
Yeah. Once again, as I've already been talked about, he's been in the tomb for 4 days. Now you have to add some travel time in there. It's a good question of whether or not he would have gotten there in time. We don't know. It's kind of left ambiguous in the text. I don't think this is true, but this was a common superstition at the time. They believed that the spirit of the body would hover around for 3 days. I don't know if this is true or not. I don't think it is entirely, but this is like superstition that was common in the day and age of the New Testament writers. Like the spirit would hover around for 3 days and then it might come back. This is proving home the point, nah, this dude's dead. He's dead as a doornail, all of that. There is no resurrection that would happen except from Jesus himself. Now, and also less than 2 miles away from Jerusalem, we covered that already. Many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them in the loss of their brother. Whenever you see the phrase Jews in the Gospel of John, there is the region of the people from Judea, that southern kingdom, that's where Jerusalem was. There were many Jewish people. But for John specifically, the reference, the Jews, tends to reference people that were high up in authority and were often rivals of Jesus. This would be members of the Sanhedrin. Sanhedrin was the ruling council of the Jewish people that plotted to kill Jesus. That's at the end of this story as well. But the Jews in John, they were often rivals of Jesus, not like a neutral party. Does that make sense? So he's walking into a hostile situation in this. All right, continuing on, 20 through 27.
When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed at home. Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you would have been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask. Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. Martha answered, I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this? Yes, Lord, she replied. I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who is to come into the world.
Very good. Thank you. So Martha heard that Jesus was coming. She went out to meet him. This was a typical custom in that day. Once again, Martha is being a good hostess. She's being hospitable. She's going out. She's meeting the person before he even arrives into the area. The implication is like she met him on the road. Like this is happening outside of town. Very likely. It's like she heard Jesus was coming. The teacher's coming. He draws a crowd. That's just how it goes. And she goes out to meet him. Believe it or not, the word Martha, it actually comes from the feminine version of the word for a host. in the Hebrew. So like even by her very name, she was set up to always want to be a good host. So you kind of see that manifested even still in her grief. What does this look like for us in our days? Like when you're having like that angst in life, but you're still just trying to hold it together. That's a lot of what Martha's probably dealing with at this moment.
Do you think that was a hostile confrontation?
Hostile. I think
And maybe at the very least confrontational?
confrontational. She is, well, like, it's like two trains that are meeting but not connecting. Like, a lot of the questions that she's asking, it's like, and this is actually very key, and we're meant to read Mary and Martha in opposition to each other. Mary demonstrates genuine faith. Martha, it's like she takes Jesus and she treats him like a genie in the bottle a little bit. Now, what do I mean by this? Like, if I believe in Jesus hard enough, if I rub this magic lamp just right, I'll be able to get whatever I desire. That's a pretty common thing in our world today. Now, do keep this in mind. We are supposed to ask Jesus for help in our time of need. But it's not about asking or believing that Jesus is my way to get whatever I want. It's that Jesus is going to give us what we need. Does that kind of make sense? Does that help answer your question? You're getting ahead of my text points, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, so. But no, she does the right address. Lord, person in charge, person that I respect and love. If you had been here, my brother would not have died. But this tiny little but. But I know that even now, God will give you whatever you ask. Jesus said to her, guess what? Your brother will rise again. Here's the thing. We know how this story ends. He raises Lazarus from the dead, but she doesn't choose to believe the words that he says. Because what does she go to? Okay, I know that he'll rise again in the resurrection on the last day. Well, Jesus' reply was, last day. I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die, and whoever lives by believing in me will never die. This is an interesting translation for the phrase. I would also translate it in this way. I mean, death still happens. Let's not be naive in that. I would say a good way to translate this is also like, we'll never die forever. Like, death still happens. Let's not minimize that. But at the same time, the whole point of this is like, it's a temporary thing. It's something that we don't need to be afraid of because Jesus is the resurrection, as he's about to prove in this story. But with this, you have like both of them like running against each other. Martha's coming to Jesus in her grief, and she's saying, hey, through you, I can get what I need from God. Jesus in this passage is like, I am God. I will do this. And she's just missing that point entirely. Like with Martha, she thinks that Jesus is this pathway to get to God. And as we see with Mary and her petition and her desires, she confesses that through that through Jesus, Jesus is in fact God. It's a subtle distinction, but it makes all the difference in the world. As we'll read about in the verses for Mary, it's very much like the prayer that she says. Jesus' immediate reaction is to go and then raise Lazarus from the dead. It's a very different understanding about who Jesus is and what he is able to accomplish. It's a subtle difference. You guys see the distinction, though? Yeah. It's the difference between Jesus just being a miracle worker and Jesus being the resurrection and the life, being the Son of God, being the Messiah. She does give him some good titles. I will point that out, but it's like she doesn't quite believe it. And how she responds is like you would expect her to say, I am the resurrection and the life. Do you believe this? She would say like, yes, Lord, you're the resurrection and the life. But no, she goes a different direction. She says like, you are the Messiah. You're this coming king. That's the word Messiah, Mashiach in the Hebrew. Anybody know what that word means? Just curious. It's a fancy word. I don't know. It's the same word as Christ. Christ is in his last name. Christ is a title. It's a king language. In the Old Testament, they didn't have often expensive metals, so they would take a oil-filled ram's horn. It would be hollowed out in the middle, and a Messiah literally means anointed one. Basically, you would pour oil over this person during the coronation, and the king was the person that smelled good. It's really that blunt. But yeah. But no, it was a reference to be like he would be the almighty king. Son of God, that's a good reference to his divinity. But she doesn't make the connection that he's also the resurrection of the life. It's a powerful little, like two trains missing each other. She doesn't quite get what he is there for. Anyway, any questions on that? I'm kind of in the weeds a little bit, but I think it's interesting stuff. I hope you do too. I don't know, but I don't see that many glass over eyeballs. But yes, so. Well, cool. Any other thing else on these verses before we move on?
It's been sufficiently connected yet that it was fair for her to connect the dots that he was the resurrection and the life versus these other things.
So,
Like we have the benefit of seeing the whole
we do.
Bible, so.
Oh yeah. That is a very good point. This is a question of, do you believe the words that he says, or do you believe based off of the results that he gives? Yeah. As we see, and this is really key for this story, Martha believes in the results that he gives, a lot of it, and Mary just believes because of the words that he says. It's interesting. Yeah. She just believes, she confesses, she follows. Martha, there's a bartering going on. Excellent question, excellent point, though. Yeah, so. Anything else? I haven't put you all to sleep. That's a win. Cool. All right. Who's willing to take a look at Mary's side of the story? Thank you.
After Martha had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary aside. "The teacher is here," she said, "and is asking for you." When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet entered the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who had been with Mary in the house, comforting her, noticed how quickly she got up and went out, they followed her, supposing she was going to the tomb to mourn there. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died."
Yeah. This one has got faith. Now, key things, and I'll put this in a slide in a second, but look at how she reacts when she hears that Jesus is there. First, she's in tears. She's mourning. I have this picture of her on her hands and knees at the grave of her brother Lazarus. Then she hears, the teacher's here. Gets up right away, runs and meets Jesus on the road. Same prayer that Mary gives, but there's no qualifier. She just says it. It's a big difference. I'm sorry. That falling on his feet, she fell at his feet, that also is a slight subtle reference to the story that would come a little bit later where she anoints anoints his feet with her hair. Wow, words are hard. My goodness. Anyway, I need more coffee. Anyway. But no, I dug into the commentary on this. There were 7 different points of that differentiated how Mary and Martha, how their faith is shown. I put up 2 of them, and then, the key point at the bottom. If you look at Martha's response to Jesus, it looks like she's coming out of obligation. Once again, good hostess. She's going out, she's going to meet him. She's doing what she thinks is her duty to do. She heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him. That's kind of the understanding that goes with the language. Mary, by contrast, she gets up quickly and she just goes. She is in mourning. She goes to the source of where all love, where all truth, where all beauty is found. Qualifies. If you had been here, my brother would not have died, but I know that you will give me whatever. You are able to deliver me whatever I ask from God. I think that's kind of how the language goes. There's a qualifier. There's something else that goes with it. If you look at the statement that comes from Mary, it's the very last thing that's said. It is just that simple statement of faith. Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. And then it's enough from there. She doesn't need more. She already knows that he's the resurrection and the life because that statement proves it. You guys see the difference? Yeah, I'm hearing, seeing head nods. That's good. Cool. But yeah, believes Jesus can bring the resurrection of the life. Like, he can bring it through the Father to us. She believes that Jesus is the resurrection and the life. Why is this important? For the story that comes after. The resurrection itself, where Jesus rises up and overcomes death itself, and through that we have hope. But cool. Any questions on those comparisons?
How old was Lazarus when this was going on?
That's hard to know. We know he's a wealthy man. The other story is the rich man and Lazarus. I think he's a leper in that story, or he's sick in some way. He had spoils on his body, something like dogs licked it. I could be wrong on the leper bit. But we don't know an age for sure. And old enough to be quite wealthy, but we don't know more beyond that. Very likely, wealthy landowner. If you read the story about the fragrant oil, the alabaster flax, those from Mary of anointing Jesus with her hair, this was probably a very wealthy family. There's even speculation that Lazarus was part of the Sanhedrin, that ruling class. How else was he able to get all that authority and money? I don't know. But well-connected, well-established, so probably older. We don't know for sure.
I'm Googling it.
Yeah.
He was probably in his 30s.
Yeah, that sounds fair. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
midlife for that.
Yeah. Well, let's have a qualifier on that. Age was skewed in that day. Like, once you got past what? Legal age for military, you could probably make it a pretty considerable distance in life. But like, infant mortality was much higher in that day. And once again, military, well, fight, die, that kind of thing. But if you got through that, you probably could live a good and long life too. So, yeah.
I was asking, Harry, this is not a person you would have expected to die.
Yes,
Like, if
that's
he's
the key
90,
bit.
Then like, well, you had to go sometime.
Yes. Yeah. So, but excellent question. In the back, what do you got?
I don't know how to ask this question, but when it says, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're saying that she believes that he is the resurrection and the life.
Yeah.
Let's say he had been in the town there. How do we know that that Jesus wouldn't have just how do we know that's just what was supposed to happen?
Mm.
Are you just saying the timing of when God's told, is there any way that if he was there, he wouldn't, I don't know how to explain that.
So how would Mary have known that Jesus is the resurrection and the life? Is that what your question is, or no?
No, I think I have to think about my question a little bit.
That's
Is
okay.
it, how does she know that if he was there, that he wouldn't have let him die? Like, she's
Right.
so sure
Oh.
that if he was there, he would have lived?
Yeah.
That's what she's asking.
That's a good question. I think her statement she trusts who Jesus is. She trusts that Jesus is in fact God. That he can deliver, he can make it so her brother would not have died. I don't know, be more beyond that. Is there more to that question that you're trying to bring to the surface, or no? That's okay, yeah.
In my head, yeah.
Okay.
Not here.
Fair enough.
But
Fair.
if that's the case, they're both saying that.
To a degree. It's a question, though, that one of them understands who Jesus is, and one is using him a bit more as a genie in the bottle.
It's the butt.
It's the butt. Yeah.
If-
Yeah.
it's- Yeah, both, I just think both people have different ways of processing, maybe,
Sure.
or speaking or
Yeah.
communicating.
And in all fairness, this is also set in grief. This is a discussion question. We won't get to it at the end of this. Sorry, guys. I rambled a bit, but it's okay. You guys were rambling back. It was good. Anyway, but with people in their grief, our job as Christians is so much just to be present and to point them back to Jesus. That is so important. And notice, with Jesus, he doesn't say, since Martha didn't quite get it, he still is interacting with her. He still is working with her. And that's something that we should be modeling. That's something we should be championing. So, yeah. All right. Going to keep moving a little bit. Can I have someone read 33 through 38?
When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. "Where have you laid him?" he asked. "Come and see, Lord," they replied. Jesus wept. Then the Jews said, "See how he loved him." But some of them said, could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying? Jesus, once more deeply moved, came to the tomb.
Cool. Verse 35, every child's favorite memory verse in the entire Bible. It's the shortest Bible verse, that's why. Anyway, this phrase, though, deeply moved, it's a powerful phrase, but believe it or not, it's the same word as a horse snorting, believe it or not. But no, it's like, it also gets translated have compassion, but it's like, you know that feeling where you're about to cry? It's like you're choking up a little bit. That's kind of the phrasing that is happening here. But yeah, same word. But you have right here in these verses, Jesus truly expressing his humanity. But he also knows the end of the story. Why do you guys think Jesus is crying here?
For what he's gonna go through.
Well said. Yeah. With the very words that he's about to say, Lazarus, come forth, he is gifting Lazarus life, but also signing his own death warrant. And that's how the story progresses in the Gospel of John. The Synoptic Gospels, this would be Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. A lot of it is tied to Jesus cleansing the temple. But for John, it is very important that the hearer understands that this was also taking place because Lazarus was raised from the dead. Yeah.
Aren't there other translations that the deeply moved is kind of like a rage? And mad of just about death in general?
I could see how you get there. I'd have to do a bunch more digging to know for sure whether or not. If other people are translating it that way, I would...
It says the Greek word I can't say this, embryomai.
I think it's...
also conveys indignation or rage.
Yeah. It's in that freight. Oh, why do you cry? Sometimes you're angry. Sometimes you're... Yeah. I don't think you can advocate for righteous anger in here quite that much. Let's not...
I wasn't saying that, but like just anger at death.
Yeah. I'm okay with that. 100%. He's mad at the sorrow, at the death that is happening here. That's another very fair take for this. I incline more towards what you said in the back there, but that is a very fair reading as well. Anything else? You hit the big ones, but yeah. All right, but no, we think about Jesus as like this special dude, but we also can't forget that he was also just, well, a dude. I don't know. He cried, he laughed, he needed to eat, all of it. Like, he was just as human as you and I are. So, all right. And tough dudes cry. There you go. Who's willing to read 38 through 44 for me? Thank you.
The tomb was a cave with a stone laid across the entrance. Take away the stone, he said. But Lord, said Martha, the sister of the dead man, by this time there is a bad odor, for he has been there 4 days. Then Jesus said, did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God? So they took away the stone.
Yeah. So, you have Martha right here. In the midst of Jesus about to do something extraordinary, Martha gets in the way with something that doesn't seem that important. It's a fascinating little detail. I'm fascinated that John includes it in the reading. But like, you have Martha there. She doesn't know what's about to happen. Jesus does. It's like, dude, what are you doing? It's going to smell bad. Like, Jesus is like, you're going to see the glory of God here. Stay out of the way. Let me do my amazing things. And you don't have to answer this if you have something to say to it, but take it with as a reflection. What are times when we get in God's way when he plans to do something extraordinary? Think about your life. Meditate on it. Are you getting in God's way? Food for thought. But yeah, so human nature. Well said. All right. I'll read these verses. I'll read from here to the end. Jesus looked up and said, Father, I thank you, you have heard me. I know you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me. When he had said this, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, Lazarus, come out. The dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with strips of linen and a cloth around his face. And Jesus said to them, take off the grave clothes and let him go. quick thing, Psalm 118, huge psalm. If you read it, David was penning the events of Holy Week thousands of years before it happened. This is the same opening to the psalm. It's the same kind of language. And Jesus is like he's referencing it. It's like this is starting to happen. The events of Holy Week are about to happen. Lazarus come out, these same words. Jesus calls us by name. There's a contemporary song. You called my name, and I ran out of that grave. I don't know. I hesitate to think that they got inspiration for anywhere else for this story. But yeah. All right, and I'll keep reading. Therefore, many of the Jews, these people that were against Jesus, who had come out to visit Mary and had seen, interesting that Martha's missing there, and had seen what Jesus did, believed in him. But some of them, they went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. So you have these separating camps happening. Some of them believed, but some of them went to the Pharisees, Jesus' enemies. Then the chief priests and the Pharisees called a meeting of the Sanhedrin, this messed up trinity of different people in power that want Jesus dead. The chief priests, this would be the ruling authorities. The Pharisees, these were the morally religious people. And then the Sanhedrin, this was like the ruling class that governed over all of them. They said this, what are we accomplishing, they asked. Here is this man performing many signs, and if we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him, and then the Romans, the people who are in charge of the entire region, will come and take away our temple and our nation. Romans were okay with old established religions. They were very uncomfortable with new religions, and that's what Jesus is seeming to propose here, a new religion. Then one of them, named Caiaphas, who was high priest that year, spoke up and didn't realize what he was saying. You know nothing at all. Do you not realize that it is better for you that one man die for the people than that the whole nation perish? He did not say this of his own, but as high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus would die for the Jewish nation. And not only for that nation, for the scattered children of God, to bring them together and make them one. It's not about the Jewish nation, it's about all believers in Christ. So from that day on, from the day that he killed Lazarus, that he raised Lazarus from the dead, they plotted to take his life. As Lazarus was raised, Jesus was condemned to death. Therefore, Jesus no longer moved about publicly among the people of Judea. Instead, he withdrew to a region near the wilderness. He crossed the Jordan again to a village called Ephraim, where he stayed with his disciples. So key things. We believe that Jesus is the resurrection of the life. This story is a testament to that he is able to raise the dead. Our death is a temporary thing, and we all long and wait for those that have gone before us, and that we will rise again and see Jesus face to face. I got 2 minutes left. Any questions you guys have for me?
This is the only time I'm familiar about Lazarus.
Yeah.
Does the Bible say much about what happened after he came back to life?
Right after, good question, right after this story, you have this plot to kill Jesus. Also, a lot of people are coming to see Lazarus. Because so they actually were plotting to kill Lazarus as well. We don't know what happens. That part of the story doesn't resolve for us. But the tension is like, for those who follow Jesus, despite the miraculous signs that he does, persecution still endures. Good question. Yeah.
It says Lazarus was Jesus' friend. How
Yeah.
did that, when was he become a friend? How, where?
Oh,
Was
you
it
hear the
childhood,
song?
or-
Oh, what a friend we have in Jesus. No, that's a good question. Oh, we don't know. We don't know that side of the story. Where did they get to know each other? Luke, the story with Mary and Martha, where it's like, Martha's like, hosting. Mary's like, Jesus. I'm betting that's the first interaction. It's hard to know exactly how they met. Scripture doesn't tell us. Good question, though. Anything else? Yeah.
So I actually didn't know that he went back to Ephraim or whatever that was.
Yeah.
So what draws him back to Jerusalem? Is it
Passover.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a whole is he going to get here? Is he not? Will he come? Will he not? And he does. There you go.
And that's relatively soon after. Okay.
It is, the next reading is the anointing of Bethany, and then Holy Week. That's the Friday before Holy Week. Palm Sunday, Holy Week. 10:30. We got through 54 verses, team. Well done. Thank you guys very much. Have a good week.